Hey, hi everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, you know who it is. And it is time for another edition of our weekly track roundup, where I go over what I felt were the worst and the best tracks of the week. First, a few shout-outs before we get into all of the songs, linked down below, of course. First, our Turntable Lab link, which if you hit that up, get a colorful pressing of a record over there, we get kickback from it, so shout out to them. That's amazing. That's awesome. Also, our Patreon page. Get some bonus monthly content exclusive to that page, which supports the show and everything we do. So we appreciate all who sign up over there. Shout out to our sponsor forever, the good people over at The Ridge. They make these awesome, nifty, metal-plated wallets that fit nicely in your front pocket. Link down below, promo code MELON, 10% off. And shout out to the Songs for Australia charity compilation. Despite the viral insanity going on across the world right now, that they are still kind of reeling from the whole wildfires thing. And there are a lot of great artists on this new compilation covering Australian artists and songs, including The National, Kurt Vile, Damien Rice, and more. So give it a listen, give it a try, give it a stream, as there are some great tracks on there. And let's get into the worst tracks of the week, what I thought were the worst tracks of the week. There's a handful. There's quite a few. We're going to have to talk about all of them, even if it does hurt just a wee little bit. First, not really liking the new little Yaeji single featuring DaBaby and Drake. The more that I listen to it, it's really an underachievement of a single. Should have been bigger, should have been better, should have had a better beat, should have had a better song, but instead it just has a lot of star power, but not a whole lot in terms of substance or good writing, good performances. So I think Drake maybe stands out the most on the track, but he doesn't do enough to save the song. Not that it's Drake's responsibility to save the song that he's merely a feature on anyway, but still. We also have Steven Wilson over here, who has a new track titled Personal Shopper, which sees Mr. Wilson kind of going in a bit of a new wave direction, I guess you could say, with a horrendously laughable hook. Don't know what the man is thinking on this one. I feel like ever since he's kind of drifted away from Porcupine Tree and then indulged in a lot of the classic progressive rockisms that have kind of inspired his music over the years. He's really sort of trying to, I guess, experiment with and find himself through a lot of different sounds and styles, and this is yet another, I guess, step in that direction, but doesn't really pan out. I think it's something that you really have to love everything Wilson does to be into, because I do not think he does much for this style of music, but that's just me, I guess. Also, this new track, Myron, from the deluxe edition of Lil Uzi Vert's Eternal Take, which is essentially Lil Uzi Vert versus the World 2, kind of just stacking two records on top of each other, essentially. And yeah, it just kind of sounds like your typical underwhelming by-the-numbers Uzi song, not really seeing the point of adding this track and potentially a bunch of others that sound just like it to this new record, but I guess. Moving on from there, we have a new track from Tyga, Freak, which is proof that even Megan Thee Stallion cannot save the mediocrity of Tyga, as his rapping sucks on this track. Instrumental, pretty scant. Obviously the topic of the song is pretty clear and I guess relatively focused, but still it's a pretty corny track, in my opinion. And we also have another song, which there have been quite a few of, and I haven't really commented on them to any extent, from Sufjan Stevens and Lowell Brahms. And this record they've been teasing toward, this somewhat classical, somewhat experimental instrumental record, Climb That Mountain, is the title of the track. I don't know, just every song I've been hearing so far is just really, I suppose, trying to be elegant, epic, a little left field. I'm not really entirely sure what to make of a lot of this material they've been teasing with so far. I mean, maybe on the record it will all come together in a very grand fashion, but so far nearly every track just sounds too short-winded to really build up anything. It's kind of like very layered motifs that could use more development, could use more sound play, something. I mean, I appreciate the combination of influences, though it's not, totally a brand new thing for Sufjan Stevens to be indulging in music that is instrumental or classically influenced. But I don't know. Just not really feeling this material so far. And new Nicholas Jar track, Sunder, which is a somewhat strange electronic semi-spoken word piece, I guess. I mean, the vocals on the track are really tedious, and the instrumental could have used a lot more progression too. Safe to say the Against All Logic stuff is a lot better than this. Safe to say. Let's move into the tracks that I thought were meh. Not blown away by them, but still wanted to shout them out, point them in your direction. You might like them a little more than me, so here we go. First off, we have the new Yves Tumor track, which is titled Kerosene. Not so much into the very underwhelming intro on this track, as well as the lyrics, which I think are kind of trite. However, I do think the way the instrumentation layers in a very grand and epic fashion after the first leg is really cool. I like the extra voice on the track too, which is very beautiful. There are definitely some elements of the track I find to be elegant and you know, certainly left field for a modern rock track, whereas it feels like most artists influenced by the genre are kind of spinning their wheels in the mud. I will admit this project does seem to be kind of pushing forward in some sense. I just think some of the writing could have been better. Some of the writing and some of the pacing could have been better. All right, we also have this new track over here from Yaeji, Waking Up Down, which features some elements of electronic music, bedroom pop. It's a cool combination of sounds, but at the end of the day, just the whole thing, the vocals, the instrumental, everything just felt way too faint to me. Like I just wanted a bit more punch to the song or something. Even the chorus doesn't really go as hard as I would have liked. But I know there are a lot of fans of this project, and if you've been enjoying everything that has been coming out from it so far, I think you might love this track. Might even be one of your favorites from this so far, as the instrumental did at least strike me as being a bit more colorful and playful. We also have a new track from SASAMI, Mess, which is kind of a 90s rock throwback. Some of the guitar tones remind me a little bit of some classic Smashing Pumpkins. The vocals are okay. It's just a very by-the-numbers throwback kind of rock tune, but still good production, performance. We also have over here a new track from Prurient, which has a title that I'm not going to say because it'll most likely get us demonetized, but I will put this, I guess, the SoundCloud page this comes from into the description box down below where you can check it out for yourself. One of Dom's more noisy and droney cuts, though I do find the kind of spoken word bits that are distorted and placed throughout the song to kind of take me out of the vibe of the track, though I do like the epic progression of the song. The very incredibly abrasive finale is actually really awesome. We also have over here a track from Luke Schneider, a Third Man Records artist, and the label is essentially pitching him as like this pioneer in the world of pedal steel. And I mean, I will admit, I don't think I've heard a song before that featured pedal steel so prominently that sounds like this. It's essentially kind of like a new agey ambient cut, but led by pedal steel. But the way the pedal steel is treated on the track, it doesn't really sound that far off from just like what you might hear on a guitar song or something, but still not the context you usually hear pedal steel in. Some of the synth timbres as well, I think, are a little bland, but once more, not a context you usually hear the instrument in, and certainly worth a nod. You know, it's something I'm curious about the future of. You know, could get better, could get more interesting. We have also a new track from Kalani over here, Toxic. I think some of the vocal licks on this track are really good, but it's just continually disappointing that a singer as good as Kalani is continuously falls into all of these very by-the-numbers, super atmospheric, moody, structurally deficient, just stereotypes that a lot of modern R&B does. I just think she's better. She's capable of so much more, but she just never achieves it for whatever reason. We also have a new track over here from Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, Time, featuring Ariana Grande, which I did a short review of over on the Fantano channel. I thought this one had a very cool combination of influences, but I am wondering and hoping that this is maybe a bit of a rough draft of something we're going to hear in the future, because the balance of the instrumentation on this track in the mix is whacked, totally whacked, as the drums are booming, crushing everything else. The vocal manipulation is a little harsh and abrasive at times, though I do like the gospel influences, the 80s influences, the Kanye influences. The vocal performances are good, and the tune itself is really triumphant and I think hopeful in a way. So I'm looking forward to hearing what this may develop into, but still hoping for some kind of development. We have also a new track from Deradoorian, who you might know from the time she spent at one time in Dirty Projectors. And this new track of hers is very psychedelic, driving, krautrockian, I guess you could say. Saturnine Night is the name of the cut. And while I do like the groove, I do like the drive, I do like the linear progression of the song, I think that she could have done a better job of kind of coloring that groove with her voice, or really anything else on the track to kind of give some more sense of progression, or just make it a bit bolder, more exciting. We have also over here the track Stone Cold, who is working with Kenny Beats on, never mind, what I'm trying to say here is, song is Stone Cold, Kenny Beats is on the track, and the artist is Deb Never. And I mean, it's got a fun music video. The actual song itself is kind of like a very low-key piece of sort of summery, bedroom, poppy, I guess slightly hip-hop inspired too, just pop music. Everything is really slacker-ish about the song, which is certainly a vibe that appeals to a lot of people even today. It's just always kind of being presented in a totally new context. And, you know, if this is kind of the new wave of that, I mean, that's cool. That's fine. I'm down with it. I still think the song and the vocal performance is kind of underwhelming, but it's interesting to see how this kind of mood and vibe and attitude within new, young, popular, relevant music takes shape time and time and time again. We have a new track also from Corky, which is, I guess, a newer band fronted by none other than Ian MacKaye of Minor Threat fame and Yves fame. And speaking of Yves, this track pretty much just sounds like an Yves song, which at this point in Ian's career, I guess you can't be too surprised by. However, I do very much prefer everything he did in Yves to this, and don't quite see the point of this offshoot as of right now. The tune is okay. The production and instrumental palette's really underwhelming and typical. For Ian anyway. We have a few tracks from the Trolls World Tour soundtrack, which, you know, not to laugh too much, because there was that cut with SZA and Justin Timberlake that was actually very good. However, we have a few with Justin and Anderson .Paak this time around, Don't Slack and It's All Love with Mary J. Blige and George Clinton. However, both I find to be very overproduced, a little too sugary, groove deficient, and I don't know, the vocal performances to me just felt a lot hokier than they did on the Timberlake and SZA track, and the vocal processing, especially on It's All Love, like when they're harmonizing, is terrible. So, you know, sounds like some bad movie soundtrack pop, though, you know, Anderson and Justin vocally do quite a bit to save it. So, you know, it's not that bad. All right, best tracks of the week. Best tracks of the week, which there are quite a few of, so pay attention, all linked down below. We have Vagabon, who some of you may be confused. Hey, Anthony, this is Vagabond's last record that came out a little while ago, and that is true. But Vagabon has released a music video to the song In a Bind, but like a string-backed version of the song that is more stark and minimal and folksier, and I'm loving this version. The vocals are just so much stronger, and I feel like the tenderness of them stands out so much more. In a way, it kind of reminds me of like an old Nico song, but totally different, at least in a way. Loving the strings on the track too. I'm just loving this presentation. I think just kind of goes to show that, you know, what has continued to underwhelm me about Vagabond's music is that it's not presented in a very interesting way, you know, stylistically and instrumentally. If she was to do more songs in this direction, I mean, potentially could be great, because this is actually stunning, you know, beautifully stunning. It's just that a lot of her songs have been wrapped in such plain, very by the numbers, indie centric instrumentation. This to me is a lot better. This is more of a very elegant chamber folk kind of thing, which I don't know if all of her fans are going to be into, if this is kind of a change or a metamorphosis that she makes, but I'm loving it. I think it's really good. We have also over here a new single from The Killers featuring Lindsey Buckingham, and it's a rager. It's a rager. It is a synth pop rock rager with, of course, with a lot of Killer songs. You do have that driving, rockin' Springsteen influence, and the synths are really prominent. And Mr. Flowers is given a totally killer vocal performance. It's a great anthemic tune. Liking it a lot. We also have a new track from Sharon Van Etten, Staring at a Mountain, from the Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always soundtrack. And it is a very beautiful, elegant piano tune that is very moody, very low key, but I'm still liking how emotionally intense the song is. We also have a new track over here from Protomartyr, who is sounding more savage than ever, in my view. They take a really dramatic approach to these classic post-punk tropes and sounds that, to at least me, sounds refreshing, despite them not really reinventing the wheel when it comes to this style. This new song over here that they just dropped, I want to make sure I drop the title to you guys, is Processed by the Boys. Moving on from there, we have a new track from Porter Robinson, which I'm actually liking quite a bit, surprisingly. Something Comforting is the name of it, and I'm liking the balance of electronics and folk instrumentation and very bright, somewhat cheery, hopeful vocals on this track. A lot liking the progression of the song, too. The textures are so much better than a lot of what was on Robinson's last record. Just digging it quite a bit. I'm looking forward to this new project. It seems like it could be really cool, and Robinson, I think, has been making the effort over the past few years, not just through music under his own name, but I know he's had some stuff out on the side, under some other pseudonyms, or at least one. But the point I'm trying to make here is that it seems like texturally he's getting a bit more adventurous, and I think it's paying off in the material that he's been teasing with so far. We also have a new track from Norah Jones with Jeff Tweedy playing on it as well. It's a very folksy singer-songwriter tune, but of course, there's the subtle touches of jazz in the vocals and the piano as well. It's a very sweet, nice song. Maybe a little too NPR-ish, a little too tote bag, but it's still a good tune. It's still a great tune, and good vocal performance as well, as Norah continues to show. There's a lot of skill and power in the way she sort of states things vocally in such an understated manner. She doesn't try to oversell a track or anything like that, but still manages to stun, sound beautiful, and sound compelling. We have also over here, an act that I have just come into this week, and this is some really great post-punk. It's very dark, dramatic, almost harrowing kind of post-punk. Model Actriz, I believe is how you say this band's name. Suntan is the name of the song. And it's got some great production, great vocals, intense performance, and it's very dark. It is tortured, I would say, to an extent. And, if you guys are into groups like Black Midi, you are probably going to F with this pretty heavy too. All right, Lychgate, which is a metal group that has just dropped a new EP. Futura is the title of this thing, and the track from it that I wanted to point in your direction is Incarnate. And this thing is a really cool, futuristic, seamless blend of black metal, death metal, progressive metal. The clean vocals that slip in here and there are really epic. The guitar solos are really the melodies. The leads sound like they're coming from another dimension. It's very grim. It's very ugly. It's very horrific, but also complex, with like a touch of sci-fi to it almost as well. So I'm liking it quite a bit. It's sounding really good. So Lychgate, check it out. And we have also over here a new track from ITZY, K-pop group, with, believe it or not, some production from Sophie on this track, which does add, some subtle, weird notes of texture to the instrumental, but it's not that different stylistically from a lot of K-pop tunes. Though I will say, it does go hard. It is a banger. It does have some great vocal licks, some good vocal harmonies, and the beat goes freaking hard AF. So I don't know what to tell you. It's just a really good song. It's just a really good tune. It's got a great, like I said, great beat. Cool transitions throughout the song as well, as it's not just kind of one note. You know, these songs, these K-pop productions are very tightly wound, a lot of detail, you know, but also very bright, very in your face. And, you know, it's not everybody's style of pop, but I'm digging it. I'm digging it. We have also over here a track from the band Horse Lords. The Common Task is their new record. It is out now. And if you're into a very cool, forward-thinking experimental fusion of math rock and krautrock, you're gonna want to check out what they have going on with this new LP. People's Park is the name of the song that is linked down below. Try it; it's really good. We also have over here Girlpool, whose stuff a little while back with their last LP I wasn't too crazy about. This new song over here, though, Like I'm Winning It, is a pretty cool, breathy, low-key alternative dance tune. At least that's how it came off to me. With some good vocals, very dark, cinematic in a way, the presentation of the singing and the instrumentation. I'm liking it. I'm digging it. Prior, once more, I was not super crazy into Girlpool, but they're doing something a bit more texturally interesting and groovier this time around, so I'm feeling it. We also have over here a new track from Flume featuring Toro et Moi, which was a pretty great release for the week. The Difference is the name of the song. Flume comes out with some great beats on this thing, some great beats, grooves, transitions. Toro's voice on the song is okay. I mean, it's not like a stunning vocal performance in my view, but it is worked into the instrumentation as if it's another, you know, just another sound or something, in a way that works. You know, I don't think, again, I don't think it's the best singing Toro's ever done, but it does add to the song. And, you know, I am liking that Flume is dropping a big single here that does not just sound like some overly commercial piece of trash or whatever. You know, this is, even though it's obviously going to appeal to a very wide number of people, a much wider number of people than a lot of the stuff off his last mixtape, it still is a little left field, so I'm liking that. I'm liking it. We have also over here a Japanese hip-hop outfit, Dos Monos, have a new track out titled Rojo, and it's great. It's awesome. It's got some cool string samples in the instrumental, good flows. It's very left field. It's very out there, as Dos Monos' stuff usually tends to be. So give it a try. Give it a shot. We have a new track from Code Orange as well, which I'm not going to get too deep into, as I'm going to review the band's new album this week, You and You Alone. It's heavy, it's hard, it kicks ass, it is just skull-crushing, and I am excited to hear more tracks like that off of this new record Underneath. So, yeah. And, here's an artist that I wanted to point in your direction named Chica. And she's a very good singer and rapper. And Industry Games is the name of her new EP, but it's also kind of the title track and the single off of the EP. And it's got some great flows, great lyrics. Not really sure what else to say about it other than she just seems like a top-notch rapper with a ton of potential, a lot of talent, can write a song as well. And I don't know, all y'all out there who care about lyrics, all y'all out there who are like all these lyrical miracle MFers, like you got to get on this shit. You know, not that she needs a very cringy Eminem type of audience, but like, you know, if you guys care about bars and, you know, artists out there who, you know, aren't mumble rappers, I hate mumble rappers. You know, if that's the kind of thing that turns you off because you want to hear somebody actually rapping, give it a listen because it's really good. Also, Antichrist Demon Core is back with a new track, Satan is King. It's been a while since we've heard from these guys, at least from an album standpoint. They have a new record coming out this year. They have peppered the time since their last record, I think in 2014, with a lot of EPs and splits. And, you know, being the grindcore and power violence band they are, that's not really a surprise. It's kind of where a lot of that sound thrives anyway. And this new song over here has crazy riffs, awesome performance. It's abrasive as fuck. And there's a great Satan is King! Hook, refrain, vocal breakdown, whatever you want to call it. But it's a pretty exciting, hard-hitting, grimy ass cut. So Satan is King, Antichrist Demon Core, hell yeah. And that is going to be it for the weekly track roundup. You guys are the best. Anthony Fantano, hope you enjoyed all the songs, or, you know, check out all the songs that we talked about in the video. I will talk to you guys later. See you in the next video. Forever. Mwah.